Hey guys, this is Dave, the drummer, your awesome administrator for All Japan Worldwide Fan Group. We actually lost somebody that is quite significant to the story of All Japan Pro Wrestling as far as the yesteryears, as far as the formative years of All Japan. We just lost, if you're not familiar, the Destroyer, Dick Bayer's huge gaijin that worked over for All Japan for years, was basically became synonymous with Baba, with working with All Japan and just being a top tier superstar. And I have with me one of our members and somebody that just got a position with the Cauliflower Alley Club. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, but Roy, please introduce yourself.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Roy Lucier. I've been a wrestling fan for going on 38 years now. Back in the early 90s, right when 17, 18 years old, I started getting the Observer. And in the Observer, Dave would list in there where you can watch Mexican wrestling and also where you can rent Japanese wrestling tapes. And I grew up in Garden Grove, and he listed stores in Anaheim, which is a couple cities over. So I would drive over, start renting perfect quality All Japan, New Japan, All Japan women tapes, and record the Mexican stuff off the satellite dish that my parents had. So for like 7 years, or well, for 6 years, I started to amass quite a big collection and be a pretty big tape trader through the Observer and quite a few other sites, as well as being a pretty obnoxious fan at lucha shows that would run around carrying 100% Rudo sign and getting kicked out of shows and creating a ruckus. But over the years, I've made a pretty good name for myself, and currently I all my wrestling tapes that I got from over the years, I'm transferring over to DVD, and I'm uploading on multiple YouTube channels across the board from all the different promotions, just so fans can see the stuff that I got to trade and upload, or all that stuff over the years, all the Mexico, Japan, independent stuff. There's a whole other world out there other than WWE that I want to try to introduce people to. So that's why I've been doing this for a while, and
Yes.
I've got so many more DVDs to go. It's insane, but let's definitely start talking about the Destroyer, Dick Bayer, because this really hit home. He was an amazing guy. His son Kurt is a very close friend of mine, and yeah, this one really hurt.
Right. Yeah. He'd been wrestling. I suppose primarily for All Japan in the '70s, but I mean, he'd been around for quite some time before that, especially in the Americas, and then he comes over and works in Japan and becomes like one of the most iconic wrestlers. I mean, even to this day, people think of gaijin wrestlers, they think the Destroyer. I mean, I suppose it's a generational thing, but I suppose guys like Kojima, the third generation, Akiyama, all those guys, they basically got to see Destroyer on TV, like in his prime. So I'd imagine he's quite relevant to workers of that era.
Oh, even beyond him, the deal with Destroyer was when Ricky Dozan came to America, the fans or the press started reporting of Ricky Dozan's matches in America. So they were reporting on his big stuff. He fought in LA, Hawaii, and many other places for a year or two.
Right.
So when they reported his matches, they reported him against Luthez, him against Destroyer, all these big names and stuff like that.
Right.
Thez, that was one thing in itself. They reported Thez was the one gaijin that he couldn't beat. But when Destroyer came over, just the look and the aura and the way he called out Ricky Dozan just set up for their feud, which even to this date in Japan is still the highest rated program of all time in Japan. Something like an 83 share.
Right. Right. I had heard about that. I mean, it's huge, right?
It by far hasn't beat Destroyer continued to wrestle Ricky Dozan and several other gaijins or other Japanese and stuff like that. He was very close to Baba. So when Baba started All Japan, Destroyer automatically jumped with him. And then in the mid-'70s, there was a feud between Baba and Destroyer where the challenge was made that if Destroyer lost to Baba, that he would have to move to Japan. And lo and behold, he did that, and he was actually the first gaijin who became one of the Japanese and worked on the Japanese side.
Right.
And he was given his, he was a co-star of a TV show. I can't pronounce it. But he would go on there, and he actually spoke Japanese. All three of his kids speak Japanese. So the fans that grew up in the 70s remember seeing the Destroyer and his broken Japanese on this comedy show that he would do. It's similar to like Saturday Night Live, where they would do skits and stuff like that that had to do with current culture.
Right.
Destroyer, slowed down over the years, but at least once a year he would come over. I think around the early mid-'80s he would come over at least once a year for a tour with All Japan. Finally he called it a day, and his final match was in 1993. It was him, his son Kurt, and Giant Baba against Masawi Naue, Masafushi, and I forgot who the third one was off the top of my head.
Right.
But they gave him a beautiful ceremony, and ever since then, Dick's been living in Buffalo, the owner of it's kind of like a miniature golf course in Buffalo where, you come and go on the cart and do the golfing, and the Beyer family would take care of you while you were there and stuff. But he would still go to Japan at least once a year. Even, Dick Beyer was a man of many talents, and many faces. The pro wrestling world knows him as the Destroyer or Dr. X when he was AW champion. Cauliflower Alley knows him as, one of its biggest supporters and stuff like that. But apparently at Buffalo, a lot of fans don't even know about his pro wrestling stuff. He was a coach at Syracuse University. He was huge working with children there, and once a year he would take a group of kids over to Japan so they could experience the culture over there. There's a whole generation of fans in Buffalo of people that know Dick Beyer by what he did for the community and didn't even know his pro wrestling stuff.
Right.
So he was a jack of many trades, and he lived to 88 years old, and, every one of those was a very, very inspirational year. He was able to do many things with his life.
Yeah, I was just listening to Corny, Jim Cornette, a couple of days ago at the gym, and he was talking about Dick Beyer had just come up because the 605 just did the big thing on Dick, on the Destroyer, and something that I thought was really interesting that Jim pointed out was that Destroyer was in like the apparel business for a long time, and so it was like he wasn't just like a wrestler. He had his own business where he was like merchandising his masks, not just as the Destroyer, but as you mentioned, as is it Dr. X or Mr. X?
Dr. X.
Dr. X, yeah. And so the fact that he was doing that like light years before everybody else was just showed me like how smart he was, and things that I am still learning about him, because my introduction to him is through All Japan and through this game for Dreamcast called Giant Graham 2000, All Japan Pro Wrestling 4, and he's on there, and you hear the the growls that he would do, that you would hear him in the matches, and it's like they got him down perfectly, because he would do that. He was a fantastic seller, and a good amount of that was vocal, kind of a guttural, voice that he had when he was getting into submissions, and guys were, choking him out or stretching him out. He's fantastic seller, probably one of the best sellers in pro wrestling history, in my opinion. Destroyer is, and getting to see his classic stuff from the mid to late 70s is just it's a joy. It really is, because he's so fun to watch. He really, really is. You know, All Japan had this cavalcade of foreigners from all different parts of the world, and Destroyer was like a linchpin of that. And the guy was just not only an enjoyable worker, but somebody that they had a lot of fun working with. You know, Destroyer was very well liked. As far as the things that I've heard was that people enjoyed working with Destroyer, and that they found him to be a very jovial and good guy to work with, and so that's got to help your reputation as well. For being like you get over well, but you're a good worker to work with.
Yeah, and there's not a person out there who's got a bad thing to say about Dick. He really was this smiling bundle of positivity that is rare in today's world. I personally, my first Cauliflower Alley sadly was Dick's last one, and I think my second or third day there, my wife and I are like 11 p.m. walking by the casino bar, and Dick and Art Williams are sitting there together having a beer, and Dick like comes, "Hey kid, come over here. Let me tell you about the time that I fought Mil Mascaras and I made him wrestle me." And I know why he made that comment is because earlier in the day we were talking about Mil Mascaras having this reputation of not letting people like he would wrestle someone and want 99% of the match and not give the guy anything in the ring.
Right.
Well, he sure as hell didn't do that with Dick Byron. You watch those matches and It's like they had an enormous amount of respect for each other in the ring, which it obviously didn't start that way, but over time they gained a lot of respect for each other. And it's just like he's definitely seriously going to be missed, and his he definitely left a legacy with his three kids. They're all three of them are great, and like I said, they speak Japanese. Kurt works in Japan and goes back and forth helping business out. But his contribution to life in itself is definitely going to be. This is a huge blow for Buffalo, for the pro wrestling business, and for his family.
Right. The best way to remember somebody is the legacy they leave behind, and he's got a strong one. And through the efforts of yourself and other folks, his matches will be able to be viewed by people for ages and ages, and they're timeless. They really are. His style of wrestling, if you like pro wrestling, you're gonna like the Destroyer. Because there's folks that they're a bit more enthralled with the entertainment side. They like their wrestling a bit more fast paced, and then there's people that actually like pro wrestling, like the kind of guys that hang out at the Cauliflower Alley Club that actually are like, yeah, I know my hookers, and yeah, I know my shooters, and those guys really appreciate pro wrestling not just as an entertainment, but as an art form, as a science, essentially. And so, Dick, we wish you well onto the next life, and may your body rest in peace, and may your soul transcend up into the heavens, and to awesome, and to bigger and better places, because there's got to be them. So, Roy, there was some stuff that you were mentioning, YouTube sites and whatnot. Please feel free to plug all your social media, plug whatever you'd like, or be able to have folks access these videos and more on yourself. Because you are in the group as well, but I figure you've taken the time to talk to us about the Destroyer, his relevance to All Japan. So I would love for you to drop some plugs, drop some references and stuff. Go for it, please.
Now's a pretty good time for it, because I'm actually in the middle of uploading a lot of 1978 All Japan, which Dick is all over. My official way to find all of my YouTube channel uploads, all that stuff, is I made a website last October called royswrestlingvault.com.
Okay.
So on there has a link to every single YouTube channel. Now, over the years, I've had YouTube delete channels. So what I do to kind of get around that is, instead of putting all the videos on one channel, I'll spread them out. So I'll have Roy Lucier CMLL, Roy Lucier AAA, Roy Lucier Japanese Classics, Roy Lucier UWA, Roy Lucier Independence, So I spread it out. So if YouTube decides to strike me, hey, there's still 7 other channels out there that are safe. So,
Okay.
So Roy'sWrestlingVault.com will link all of my YouTube channels, latest uploads, my entire DVD collection to date, which I add 1 or 2 every day too. From there, the newest videos I usually share on my Twitter page, which is under my real name, Roy Lucier. So I think it's at Roy Lucier is the Twitter handle. And my Instagram is Roy Lucier48. I'm not that active on there. More for the Cauliflower Alley. They named me the social media administrator about a week and a half ago, just in charge of all social media for Cauliflower Alley, help get the word out, the name out, any big announcements, awards, previous Cauliflower Alleys, share pictures from that, things like that. Just get the word out about what the Cauliflower Alley does. It's a nonprofit organization that exists where the funds that get raised from it go out to help wrestlers that have fallen on bad times, whether medically, financially, or otherwise.
Right.
So that's where the money goes. And they, in the past 7 years, they've raised quite a bit of money and helped out quite a bit of the boys that have needed help, in the ways that I mentioned. So I'm not happy to be a part of that and do all that I can to, help out our fellow brethren that, exactly their medical statuses, ain't the best, and they need a little help with some doctor visits and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I've heard of the organization, and they're fantastic, and they're very, very respected by the let's say the old school wrestling community, the folks that basically were the reason why wrestling was on TV. Folks that are still around that represent like the old guard. They've been around for a long time, and they are the ones. They're almost like the gatekeeper of wrestling's past in America. Well, just in the world over. And so I'd heard the things about Cauliflower Alley Club, and I've just been like, man, that's something I would definitely love to check out before,
we'd love to have you one of these years, definitely. Yeah. Membership's $25 a year. You get a membership, you'll get 4 newsletters in the mail called The Ear. If you're a member, there's a lifetime option as well for $300 for a lifetime, which, I'm only 44. A lifetime membership is going to, definitely do me good for the next 30, 40 years that I plan to live. So, so that's, and once you're a member, they have a annual thing in Las Vegas at the Gold Coast Casino that runs for 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Live events, bring in a lot of names, and it's not a meet and greet. Right. It's more of like meet and come talk to the boys and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not saying that, some guys don't go there and, hey, picking an auto is a few bucks or whatever. Not to say it doesn't happen, that, they do it in the middle of the week so that the boys don't miss any potential shots on the weekends.
Right.
So they do it like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so guys, like when I was there, Sergeant Slaughter, Ricky Steamboat, a bunch of people flew in for it in the middle of the week.
Right.
So they wouldn't miss any shots, the previous weekend or the upcoming weekend. So, it's a great time, and, you're just hanging out with the boys and, get to, make a lot of great friends,
Sounds like a great time, Roy. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Just real quick, one last thing I want to touch on is we were both at the PWR show a couple of weeks back, and we got to see the debut of Uncle Jun in America. And so the Roy actually had the insight to have streamers for the show and to shower Jun Akiyama with streamers. And so I think that was a great touch, and I think he felt very welcomed. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it again, because it was just a special moment for all of us in the building, especially the fans that have never got to see him live. And getting to see him live, it's like, it's spectacular. It was a great event. It was a good time, and getting to see him and throw streamers and getting to hear his theme music, and getting to see him throw knees, it's like, man, what more could you ask for besides to be in Japan in an All Japan show, So I mean, I had a fantastic time. I know you had a fantastic time, but I think that was a really good idea to have the streamers for Jun Akiyama, and I just want to say, great job, good thinking about it, and hopefully more All Japan guys will get to come soon back to America. I look forward to it.
Yeah, there's plans for Japanese guys to come to Pro Wrestling Revolution,
right?
This upcoming year and next year as well. So I mean, Akiyama, that I don't think it could have got really any bigger than him.
Yeah,
that was his debut in the U.S. I believe that was his first time in the U.S. ever. So
wow,
him and Asai and Tajiri just basically wanted to, experience San Francisco and get the most out of it. And he really seemed to enjoy the experience and enjoy the ovation that he got, enjoy all the people that came up to him to show him how much they cared about his career and all that. And I made a sign for him in Japanese that my friend Danny Akagi helped me make.
Oh, yeah.
He was very grateful for that. I got a couple shirts here from him, and I'm hoping it's not his last time in the States, but if it is, that was definitely a special night, and there was something in the air about the night and the whole evening that just made it a little more special than usual.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I definitely think it was a great time. Hopefully he does come back, but even if he doesn't, we were still there, and got lots of pictures and videos and autographs and stuff. So I mean, we've got a pretty good record of all that transpired. So yeah, it was a great time, and big up to Pro Wrestling Revolution for making that happen and bringing them all out. And we're really looking forward to the next time we can get exposed to more All Japan guys. The English are actually going to be the ones that are going to get their All Japan experience next, because WrestleGate is going to have a big tournament, and Joe Doring and Shuji Ishikawa are going to be there, and those are two of the biggest stars of All Japan right now. So I'm jealous of them, but here's hoping that they'll come to California. Like, I would love to somehow see more All Japan guys, even if it was like SoCal, LA, I'd still go down, just to see Kento or Naoya Nomura or any of the guys who are currently in All Japan. But Roy, thank you again so much for coming on and talk to us about Destroyer, and go and check out all the plugs, all the places that Roy has videos up, and just to see what Roy's up to. He's a very personable guy, very easy to approach and talk to him. He's got a lot of information, a lot of insight. That's why we asked him to be on the show, and we would love to have you back on again sometime, Roy, if you're cool with that, and we can set that up sometime.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Roy.